Shay, Aunt, Hotep. This is The Truth May Hurt. My name is Raymond Witcher, and I will be your host as usual. I have put together a presentation for you that I have titled, Do You Believe You Are Part of the 1%? The 1% represents the percentage of the population that rules the world. So 1% of the population rules the world, dictates the world, makes all of the world decisions, and 99% have to fall in line with what the 1% wants, says, and gives us, okay? So my question is, do you believe you're part of the 1%? Because this is what has a lot of people messed up. And this, well, let me pause right there before I get into this. The last two presentations I did, I went back and I redid a different version of my first two presentations on the foundation of racism. Because that's what we're looking at. Well, that's what I'm trying to bring to the attention and find the root cause of. Where did racism come from? How has racism survived? Why is it still dominating Black people primarily? But when I say Black people, I'm talking about every shade. I'm not just talking about Africans. I'm talking about Latinos. I'm talking about Haitians. I'm talking about Asians. I'm talking about people of color, okay? With Blacks always being on the bottom. So if you're an African, you are the least of the less. Okay? There's nobody lower. There's nobody under us. Okay, there's a lot of things above us, but as far as the ethnic groups and the population on Earth, we're the bottom feeders. Okay, so I don't want people to misinterpret what I'm trying to show you, what I'm trying to tell you, and take what I'm showing you and turn it into I'm racist, or I am stirring the racial pot, or I definitely, please don't think I'm talking about all white people. I'm talking about 1%. Keep it into perspective, please, of what I'm trying to show you. I'm trying to show you that it's been 1%. And in that 1%, everybody's not white. It started off as everybody white, but in this 1% now, we have a few of every ethnic group that's a sellout, that's a proxy, that have been put in power, in place, in power, to carry out master's will, okay? So I'm not talking about white people. I'm talking about 1% of the population that is causing all of this trouble, okay? And what I want to focus on, is this. Let's do this first. One second, bear with me. What I want to show you is, and I think I've put this in previous presentations, but it falls right in line back with the foundations of racism and how it has sustained and is flourishing. I mean, it hasn't flourished as it is now since President Donald Trump has been elected. You have to go all the way back to the 60s, the 50s, and the 60s, and the 70s to see this type of racism. Let's call it what it is. Okay, but if you see here, back in 2016, it says, increase attention toward the killing of Black men. What I'm showing you is the FBI warned of white supremacists in law enforcement 10 years ago. Has anything changed? So back in 2006, and you can look this all up. I'm just putting up one report, but if you do a search on FBI confirmed that racist groups have infiltrated law enforcement. You can see that it clearly has. You can see that the FBI warned of this. So we're talking about 20 years ago, because it's 2025 now. And their warning came out in 2006. So what has been done in the last 20 years to stop it, to do anything about it? So you can read these articles, and why I'm showing you this is because in the Foundation of Racism, parts 1 and 2, I showed you, and I used reference to Dr. Claude Anderson's interview with the Breakfast Club, where he clearly showed everyone that the Supreme Court and the United States Constitution, the first 12 amendments of the United States Constitution, was to put in place racism, slavery, to do everything to hinder us from having any rights. First of all, to have rights, you have to be considered in the United States Constitution in the first 12 amendments to be human. So we weren't considered human. So here we are in 2025. This report came out in 2006. This letter was printed in 2016, which means 10 years had passed, and this is what this is saying. And here we have elected a president in 2024. They started his candidacy, his presidency in January 20th, 2025, and he is going crazy. He's even not willing to comply with the Constitution as it was written, that they already have all of the protection. Okay? So what I'm showing you is when we're talking about the foundation of racism, how can the FBI warn of white supremacists in law enforcement on all levels? It's not just talking about police officers. It's talking about judges. It's talking about attorneys. It's talking about every level and every branch of law enforcement has been infiltrated by white supremacists. Okay? Nothing has been done. So if we go down through here, it says here, and in the 2006 bulletin, the FBI detailed the threat of white nationalists and skinheads infiltrating police in order to disrupt investigations against fellow members and recruit other supremacists. The bulletin was released during the period of scandal for many law enforcement agencies throughout the country, including the neo-Nazi gang formed by members of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. It's everywhere, okay? It's everywhere. And anytime something happens or we see black people being abused, mistreated, beaten, shot, killed, they drug a man's head off down in a black man back in the early 2000s. They tied a rope around his neck, white supremacist, tied a rope around his neck, tied him to the bumper, and drug him down the road until his head came off. Okay, so what I'm saying is, this has not changed. This behavior, this entitlement hasn't changed. Okay, and it's no reason that we should still be going through this. All right, I'm not going to go down through all of this, but I want to show you this so that you can have the foundation and the what do you call it, the resources of where I'm getting my information. And if anybody has something that disputes it, please bring it. All right, let's see where I'm at. Okay, problems with white supremacists in law enforcement has surfaced since that report. In 2014, two Florida officers, including a deputy police chief, were fired after the FBI informant outed them as members of the Ku Klux Klan. They're hiding in plain sight. It's not just the law enforcement, it's also every branch of the United States military. So I'm showing you what the status that we're in, and I'm showing you that they have stacked the deck and they have all of their cards in place. Now that they have a commander-in-chief that will call the orders for them to act. What did they do in 2020 when he lost the election? When he called them to act, what did they do? They stormed the Capitol. They went in and killed police officers. Do you think they've changed? If they had changed, over 55%, maybe 60% of the American people wouldn't have voted for him. Now he's changed the attitude of a lot of people, because a lot of people that voted for him are now hurt because they don't have a job. I asked them, do you still believe you're part of the 1%? Do you still believe that what he's been selling you is edible? Or do you think it's bullshit? See, I don't want people to think I'm cursing when I say bullshit, because I made up my own new word, bullshit, so I can say bullshit and not be cursing. Well, they're gonna say, well, Ray, that's not a word. Well, I can make up a word like anybody else can make up a word. I'm gonna try to get it admitted into the Webster's Dictionary. CHIT don't stink. It just brings the truth out with the emphasis. So I'm not gonna stick on that. So we can read down through here, and we don't have to read down through here. We all know the history. We've all just been taught to turn the other cheek. It's all right. Jesus is gonna fix it. You're gonna get your reward in heaven. It's time to wake up from the post-slavery nap. Nap time is over. Okay, people are waking up. I don't have to worry about the future generations waking up because they're already woke. The problem is that we as parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents, and everybody came before us, we will sleep on our watch through fear that we left the same system that was in place, that oppressed us, that hung us, that beat us, and enslaved us. We left it in place for our children to inherit. So if you want to know why I'm doing this, it's because I have children. It's because I'm going to have grandchildren. And I don't want them walking in the same CHIT. I don't want them suffering from the same CHIT. It's important to me. If it's not important to you, fine. Okay? But when you leave this human form and you transition back into the spirit that you were before you were born, and you have to dwell in your descendants, and you have to see what they see when they see it through their eyes, when you have to feel the suffering and pain that your daughters, your sons, your grandchildren are going to be going through, you're going to be a silent spirit. You won't be, unless you teach them. But then again, you're already gone. You can't teach them because your chance to teach them is over. That's why I'm teaching my son, my daughter, and my grandchildren to come how to rebirth your spirituality and your spiritual connection and relationship with your Creator and your ancestors. Because if you have that, you would never let anyone lead you into this. They would have to kill you first. And they will. They will. But I would choose death. You see, because you have to understand, these are Christians doing this. These are the original Christians doing this. They're doing it under the laws of Christianity. I don't want you to like it. I want you to hate it. I want you to say, I just want you to just have the courage to say, wait a minute, you know, I don't like it, but even if you don't like it, have the courage to say, let me look into what Ray is saying. Because they're getting ready to springboard making America great again. We're going to make America great again. Great again for who? Ask the people that lost their jobs in DEI. And for the record, it was more white women that lost their jobs in DEI than any other people fired. And I've seen them crying on the television. They can't believe Donald Trump did this to them. After I voted for him, I understand. You were tricked. You don't get a rewind in life. You don't get a recall. You don't get to push pause. Wait a minute. You don't get to go back and redo it. I know if you could go back and vote again, you wouldn't vote for him. Too late. You slept through it. You ate the cheese. Okay? I have compassion for you. I feel your pain, because this is what we felt all of our lives. This is just the turn that the game was ran on you. Okay? You can look this up. I saw a farmer, it was a lady in Nebraska. She was crying. And she was big, and black people, can you please help us? Can't you feel sorry for us? I don't know what she really expected us to do. I know one group was asking us to march with them. Okay, fine. Marching is never going to get anything done because it's never got anything done for us. Okay? But go ahead and march. Okay, but this lady, she was crying because she was talking about how she had voted for Donald Trump. And Nebraska, Iowa, all of these farmer states that produce the corn, the wheat, the barley, the soybeans, and all of these things, well, 70% of their employees were illegal immigrants and Latinos. And Trump has rounded them up. They don't have workers now. Okay? And it's reported that in 6 months, if Nebraska can't harvest its crops, it'll be bankrupt. Bankrupt. What do you think is going to happen to those farms when they can't pay their loans? They have a company in place right now that Jim Vance, Vice President Jim Vance, I don't know if he just has a lot of stock in the company or if he helped organize the company or what, but I can't remember the company's name, but they go around buying up foreclosed farms for pennies on the dollar. So when all of these farms foreclose in Nebraska, Iowa, and these Midwest states that they grow all of the corn and all of these things, when they're foreclosed, Jim Vance is going to get them for free. That's the game. Okay, so we're talking about how they have kept this white supremacist hate groups running. These groups, they don't even identify them as terrorists. So here's the report. Now, I want to show you so that people are going to say, well, you can see anything on the internet. Well, here's Snoops on this article. All right. FBI issued warning that infiltration by groups such as the KKK into law enforcement agencies could present security risk. This is what Snoops has done fact check on. And what does it say? Mostly true. The FBI did issue a security risk presented by infiltration by groups like the KKK. False. Warning. The warning was issued a decade ago, and it currently applicable is questionable. Okay. So they're saying that, like I said, now when was this rating? Let me see, because it was a decade ago. So this article and Snoop's fact check had to be somewhere around 2016. Let's see if we can see a date on here. There it is, 2016. So this was published 2016, 10 years after 2006. And they're saying the warning was a decade ago, and they're not sure if it's still applicable. Well, I'm gonna ask you, do you think it's still applicable? When you see what's happening right now in 2025, They're illegally throwing out innocent people out of this country, putting them in jail in El Salvador. So let's answer this part. The one that was issued a decade ago, it is currently applicable. It's questionable. Applicability is questionable. Well, do you think it's still applicable? So this report came out 2016. This is 9 years later. And I think we can answer this question. Do you think it's still applicable? The president has fired the majority of blacks that were at the head or the director of the government offices and places for no reason. They weren't fired because of performance of this, that, and the other. And everybody that he replaced them with aren't qualified for the job, first of all. And the reason he doesn't need qualified people is because the only thing he wants them to do is whatever he says. Okay, so we see that the article was deemed mostly true in 2016. And I think now we can answer the question that is still applicable. Okay, now let's go to let me show you this let me go back and show you this while I'm here because I don't want to forget it. What I'm showing you is why we are in so much trouble, especially here in America. Every empire is designed to prosper who? The emperor, not the residents in the emperor's kingdom. You're his worker bees. Okay? And everything you do has to be pleasing to him. So I'll ask you again. King James assigned 50 men to rewrite the Bible. Who do you think they feared more? King James or God? They feared King James more. King James wanted slavery, and they wrote it in the Bible. But here's what I'm trying to show you. The average time that an empire lasts is 250 years. You can come down through here and you can see the whole thing. Average countries collapse at 250 years. Every empire falls in 250 years. Average empire lasts 250 years. 250 years civilizations collapse. So what I'm trying to show you is now the United States may be the longest lasting empire. Now, this 250 years is the average of how long empires last. It's not the year that all empires last. There are some that have lasted longer. There are some that have lasted less. And the average is 250 years. The United States has been the world-leading empire for almost 800 years. And if you look at it, what position are we putting ourselves in? What position is this administration putting ourselves in? We're losing allies. He's created a trade war that is gonna destroy it. Now, here's what China did. China said, we're not gonna go tit for tat with you, Donald Trump. You're throwing tariffs on us left and right. We're gonna throw something back at you, but we're gonna throw tariffs that hurt your farmers. This is what's crushing the farmers now, because when China came out and said, listen, we're gonna tariff everything that your farmers need, the fertilizer, everything that they need to plant their crops. That's what we're gonna put tariffs on. No, we don't care about your electronics, your cars, we're going after your farmers. Since you wanna have a trade war, let's fight. It's crushing. So what position is America putting itself in? Is Donald Trump putting himself in? He's annexed the ally Canada. And when he said, you guys should become the 51st state, I just heard one of the leaders in Canada tell California, why don't you guys join and become a part of Canada? I see how Donald Trump is treating you. You want to become a part of Canada? We'll be glad to have you. And when you come, Why doesn't want the state of Washington and Oregon come in? We'll have all of the West Coast. All of the West Coast will be Canada. You won't be able to ship anything out of America, out of the West Coast, unless you bring it through Canada. So this trade war that he wanted, but the trade war is just part of it. He really wants a war. He wants to be the commander-in-chief in a major war. Okay, let's get to this, and I just wanted to show you that. So we're back to, do you believe you are part of the 1%? If you believe that before you heard what I just showed, do you still believe it now? And if you still believe it now, tell me if you believe it after I show you what I've put together here. All right, we have to keep the history in perspective, because if you don't know your history, it will repeat itself. This is why this administration is removing everything out of the public school system about blacks, about slavery, because they're trying to put in the curriculum now that slavery wasn't all bad for blacks, because they taught us skills. Ain't that some bullshit? CHIT? You guys didn't, it wasn't that bad. Look at all of these tools and the skills that you learned that we taught you in slavery. This is what they're trying to put in the school books now, so that, and I'm not trying to be offensive, when these elite white children are in school, they are not being taught how sinister and savage their grandfathers and great-grandfathers were. Well, my great-granddaddy, he helped y'all learn skills. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. All right. Did you know, and if you don't know, you should know. Well, let's start at the top, okay? So it's clear that the entire world is controlled by 1% of the population. So their trick is fooling many that they are included in the 1% that controls and benefits from their control. Remember, racism, bigotry, and white supremacy are all team sports and have many players, like football teams and basketball teams and baseball teams. They all do different things, or they all have different roles. Okay? This is just summarizing what I just showed you. I just went to the report first. This is about the FBI one and law enforcement. Okay, now, I don't want to miss anything, so I'm going to read it. In 2006, the FBI warned that white nationalists, racist bigots, have already infiltrated all areas and levels of law enforcement and the military, police, judges, attorneys, and even elected officials. This problem is very easy to fix, which by simply requiring these government and public jobs that serve the public take a simple lie detector test. How hard? See, this is what I'm trying to show you. Racism could have been stamped out a long time ago. Do you know that Congress shut down anti-lynching laws here in America and said, no, we don't need an anti-lynching law here in America for hanging black people? They would shoot it down. Why are you fighting to prevent a law to protect white people from hanging us on trees in the 2000s, in this century? Why? And then stand up and say, there isn't any racism in America. There is no racism. You guys are just too sensitive. BULLCHIT. You guys aren't sensitive enough. When I say you guys, I'm talking about the 1%. Okay. When I was working, I had to take a lie detector test to be eligible to work on many employees with sensitive jobs. So why are these jobs assigned with defending our country and public not required to take them? These are built-in layers designed to protect white supremacy, all under the Supreme Court rules. Oh, wait a minute. Supreme Court's roles, because the Supreme Court is the one that makes the final decision whether something is going to be law or not. It's the Supreme Court. Well, every innocent black organization we've had was destroyed and totally dismantled, like the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers was never a hate group. It was never a racist hate group. The Black Panthers never targeted innocent white people. The Black Panthers set up to protect the white police from coming into their neighborhood, killing them. The Black Panthers set up food. Look it up. If you've never seen this, you've never heard this, don't believe everything and the propaganda of what the news media tells you. The Black Panthers set up food programs for the children whose parents couldn't afford to feed them. They set up medical programs for people to get medical attention. So you can't find one report or news article of the Black Panthers attacking one white person. Find it and bring it right back in the comments. And if you want to speak on it, we can do a Zoom meeting and do it together right here. Okay? So the white supremacist has been protected. These are built-in layers designed to protect white supremacy under the Supreme Court's rules. Should be rules. Rules. I'm going to leave it rules. Okay. While every innocent black organization has been destroyed and totally dismantled, these racist groups have had no interference with their growths. They have new racist hate groups that have popped up, and the KKK, and none of them have ever been identified as hate groups or domestic terrorist groups. They get free passes on killing innocent black people, blowing up buildings like Oklahoma City, trying to overthrow the government, 2020, and still not one thing has been done. Okay? When you look at the administration in the White House now, man, it's known white racist, white supremacists in his staff. But that's who this country wanted. That's who they wanted as president. All right. Did you know that the first policing group was named the Slave Patrol? Okay. I'm gonna show you this. Okay, as I said, the first policing group was the Slave Patrol. So let me show you what the Slave Patrol is. All right. You can search who was the Slave Patrol. The Slave Patrol were organized groups of armed men who monitored and enforced discipline. So they had the authority to beat, whip, hang slaves, because to monitor and enforce discipline upon slaves in the antebellum United States, southern states. They were formed to control slaves and enforce slave codes, laws, and regulate slave behavior. These patrols were one of the earliest forms of early policing in the South. The earliest formal slave patrol was created in the Carolinas in the early 1700s to suppress slave uprisings and return runaway slaves to their owners. Okay, so it tells you that the Slave Patrol was a militant group that had the authority through the government to control, discipline, slaves. Right? We're going to keep you from uprising. Now, what are slave codes? Because it says here, were formed to enforce slave codes. So what are slave codes? Slave codes were laws enacted in the United States colonies and states that governed the status and treatment of enslaved people. The codes were designed to control the time, energy, and mobility of enslaved individuals. Common provisions included marking bondage and a lifelong condition. So you're going to be a slave for the rest of your life. Prohibiting voting, property ownership, and marriage to whites, and restricting movement without permission. Okay, so what I want you to understand is before, during the 14, 15, and early 1600s, there was no segregation. Whites and blacks were marrying each other. Whites and native Indians were marrying each other. There were interracial marriages were common until King James and the Catholic Church said, no more of this. You guys are not going to be marrying white women. Now, it wasn't illegal for a white man to have children with a black woman, because you have to remember what it takes to create and maintain a white race. It takes, the only way that you can have a white child is if a white man and a white woman produce a child. A white woman with a black man or Asian man or any other man can never have a white child. A white lady. So when you have a white father and a black mother, or a black father and a white mother, the child can never be white. That's because they had a one drop law, that if you have one drop of any blood in you that's not white, you're not white. But I'm going to show you this. In order to maintain the white race, they have changed the status of who's white. Okay, so I think I just showed you this. Okay, yeah, that's that. Let me show you this. Okay, so to maintain a white race, now Middle Eastern and North Africans are considered white on the United States Census, because the white population, as it was defined as pure white European blood. Now remember, the definition of white was originally Caucasians with pure European blood. Okay, now to show you what I mean, to have the racial identity as white, originally your blood you had to be able to produce a pure bloodline to a certain group of Europeans. And here's what it says. All right, white immigrants weren't always considered white and acceptable. Italians, Greeks, Poles, Hungarians, Slavs, and other European groups had to overcome prejudice over many years. They didn't consider a lot of the people that consider themselves white now. When they came here, man, you weren't white. You weren't white. Okay? So you can find that article here. I'm not going to hold this up too long, but it tells you all down through here who exactly is white. And you can read down through here. Back in the 1800s, they were not considered white upon arrival. They're talking about all of these people that are considered white now. Okay, so let's go here. And the definition of white has evolved over time. Originally, it was associated with predominantly European ancestry, but it has also been expanded to include people from the Middle East and North Africa, because their race, the white race, is declining and failing and falling. And in order to take a census and say that we have this many white people on earth, they had to include people that they had denied for many years and centuries. Okay? So you can read these things. I don't want to make this too long. Okay? So, all right. Well, it's always too late. It's way too late for us to believe we have been taking our post-slavery now, okay? So we've been sleeping through this because we've always been taught to believe that we have a savior. And don't worry about what happens to you here on earth. You're going to get your reward in heaven. So the big trick is for those who've always thought and believed that they were part of this group, and you're not. And now they're proving it to you, okay? So now here's another thing. When we always hear on the news about black on black crime, you guys are killing each other. You're black on black crime. Well, wait a minute. Now that I have your attention, please remember the history from 500 AD through the 1500s. The only people these elite were killing were European whites who would not accept Jesus Christ as their savior. For 1,000 years, they weren't killing black people, they were killing whites. They were killing the people in Europe that were Caucasian, that would not accept Jesus Christ. And a lot of these people, even though they had this complexion of the Caucasian, the Italians, all of these people, they were saying, man, y'all not white, and you're going to accept Jesus Christ, and we're going to kill you. All right. They don't love you any more than they did in the 1500s or blacks now. You are being used in the racist scheme to do the dirty work while they stay hidden and protected. All right. You will never put out a fire by aiming the water at the smoke. You got to put the water on the flame. Okay. Well, the deck has been stacked again, and this time, I guarantee you that you will find out that the racist whites doing this will be left out of the benefits that they believe they will get. Most of all, we will all suffer together because the system no longer needs worker bees. Needs worker bees. Okay? They have automated systems now. They have robotics now. They're shutting this thing down. Only a few chosen will be left here because they're gonna mess this up. All right. All right. What these American elite will find out is that history will repeat itself again regarding the length of empires last, which is an average. Which is an average of 250 years. And America is in the 800th year of it being the world empire. So when the Bible says the end of the world, is talking about the end of the empire built under European colonization, Hellenization, capitalism, and oppression. All right. This equation of superiority and dominance doom started when white women started having children outside of the white race. If we look at the statistics, show that the white race for the first time is losing the fight because whites are dying faster than children are being born. So whites as a race can't survive without a form of population control to ensure their survival as a superior race for people, and they will totally destroy Earth before they become second-class people on Earth. So what I'm telling you is they're changing the rules, okay, to include people in the white race. And see, I wish I had a path to reach the races so that they can see that, hey, y'all are not the only ones considered white now. I mean, I have to laugh and smile at this because I'm sure. Now, here's the deal. These racist hate groups, they're not going to accept these new people that the census now is classifying as white. You're still not one of us. You may be considered. They'll come up with some type of rationale that to keep, see, in order for this system to function and work and bring them in all the money, you have to always have a better than, less than people status. You have to have a who's worthy and who's not. Okay? And we're under that type of control. So beware. Wake up. Okay? There's no need in us that are waking up from this to still be in a hate-based ethnic group race system. There's no need for me to be hating white people. There's no need in white people that are waking up to still be hating black people. There's no need in me hating white people for what their ancestors did. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hold you accountable for what you do. Okay? I mean, the people that are racist, just be honest, you know, stop covering it up and putting yourself that you're not a racist, and every time you turn around and there's a black issue, you're standing over on the other side with the ones that did it. Okay? See, this is what I mean when I say that racism is a team sport. That means that the person that goes out here and walks in a black church and kills everybody in it, he's a racist. The police that arrest him and on his way to jail take him, where did they take him to? Burger King, because he said he was hungry? That Dylan, whatever his name is, he shot those people in the church down in Mississippi or somewhere. And the police, when they locked him up, he said he was hungry, so they took him to McDonald's or somewhere in Burger King and got him food. So yeah, the police didn't shoot the lady in the church, but they are complicit because they felt sorry for this man that he was hungry and took him to Burger King. When whites see George Floyd have a police officer kneel on his neck with his hands cuffed behind his back until he pees on himself and he's begging for his mama that sat at home and saw it on the news and didn't see anything wrong with it, you a racist. The ones that saw it on the news, that did nothing, said nothing, and then had a protest against the Black Matters protest, Black Lives Matter protest. And well, you know, all lives matter. Well, all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. But you have a problem. When I was working at Goddard, my last supervisor, he tried to correct me and tell me all lives matter. I said, listen, man, you know, all my lives can't matter. And I wasn't working. I mean, I was disabled, but we were still in contact. He was on my Facebook, I was on his, and he came on Facebook to correct me. You can't say that all lives matter and black lives don't matter as more than whites. And I said, well, all lives can't matter until black lives matter. And he wanted to carry on this to correct me. And I said, wait a minute, listen, we're not at Goddard. We're not at NASA. You're not my supervisor. You're not my father. And then you stepped into the role that you think you're gonna come on Facebook and correct me about black issues. That's your mistake. All right? Don't you ever try to correct me about how I need to think, what I need to feel. And you weren't my master when you were my supervisor at Goddard. Don't forget that. Don't be trying to be my master now. Okay? It caused some problems. Okay? But listen, I'm not going to bow down. I'm not going to let you convince me that my people have not been abused, especially when you saw it on TV just like I did. And you're going to tell me that you're going to defend this police officer, and you have the gall to come on my Facebook page and try to correct me. Don't do that. All right? Don't do that. Okay? So, yeah, you're a racist, Joe. I'm not going to call his last name. All right. So I'm going to end this and I'm going to say, let me ask you again. Who still believes they're part of the 1%? They're going to change the rules to their game accordingly to keep them in power. Now, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of these, I think it's 7 families. Well, let me tell you this, and then I'm going to go. Look up. Let me show you. Okay, look up the Bilderberg organization or the Bilderberg group. The Bilderberg group are the elite. When I tell you that they have just the elite, look up the Bilderberg meeting, because once a year, the Bilderberg meet somewhere in Europe. I can't remember exactly where it is. They meet somewhere in Europe, and it's kind of like the Berlin Conference was. They decide what they want to happen all over the world. Okay, the Bilderberg was organized back in 1954 to foster dialogue between Europe, North America. All right, and it's talking about Western capitalism. Okay, political leaders and experts. This is the group that says what we want all over the world and what we need to put in place to make our things happen. Okay, so the Bilderberg realized that what they did was they created a group called the Trilateral Commission. Okay, the Trilateral Commission was started because the United States was the only country hindering a global New World Order. And in order for there to be a global New World Order, several things need to be in place. There needs to be one means of buying and selling. There needs to be one means of weights and measurements. And the United States still is the only country that is on the standard scale, not the metric scale. And they need to be able to see the world all at one time. Well, now they can see the world all at one time. I worked in, when I was at NASA, one of the groups I worked in is EOS, which is Earth Observation System. So they're always looking, okay? We have telescopes in space that can read a newspaper, you standing on the street, okay? So in order to have a one world government, because the New World Order they want a one world government. Bill Gates and all of these people, that's what they're pushing for, a one world government, a one world economy. In order to have that, everybody has to be on the same scale of weights and measurements, buying and selling, and they have to be able to monitor and control the world. They have to be able to monitor, see, and control the world at one time. The 2 men that designed the debit card ATM machines, I worked with both of them at the Naval Research Lab. One's name is John Kim. He was a reliability engineer, and Bobby Prettyman, he was a quality assurance engineer. So all of these things are in place. So in 1973, to keep this transition toward a digital economy, they started the Trilateral Commission, because Americans 40 years, 50 years ago, we love money. We love to have a pocket full of money. We love that. So to transition people away from always keeping money in their pocket and paying in cash, they convince people to take a credit card and use your credit card. Because if you don't have money in your pocket, nobody can rob you for your credit card. Your credit card gives you protection, okay? So we transitioned from keeping a pocket full of money to putting credit cards in our pocket. That's the start of digital currency. When John Kim and Bobby Prettyman invented the ATM debit machines, now you don't even need a credit card. We have a debit card. And it's going from there to where you get this and receive this marker number in the hand. And I know the Bible says that. That's because the devil wrote the Bible. He knew what system he was putting in place. See, we say, oh, well, the Bible says that, so That's what God said. Well, which God? It wasn't your God. It was the one that rules the earth. It's not the one that rules the heavens. It was the one that was cast out of heaven that had this goal to control. Well, he was sent here to control and rule the world. So let it be no surprise that that's his book that we've been worshiping from, reading from, and having faith in that's going to save us. You're being delivered into the depths and the belly of hell, believing in that book. Before the World Trade Centers came down, in one of the towers, they had a display floor. I think it was the 11th floor, where they had a display floor that showed how our economy has transitioned. Meaning, at first you would go in the store with a nugget of gold, and they would weigh it on a scale, and they would tell you how much you could buy in their store. That was the first economic system. Then it went to, well, you can bring a coin, and that coin has a value, and you can bring a $1 bill, a $5 bill, or a $20 bill. Instead of bringing me the gold, now you can bring me a coin or a piece of paper that the government issues, and that's what you use to buy with. Then it went to the credit cards. So that's credit cards, then the debit cards, and it was written on the walls that there will be 5 major changes in our economic and financial institution and system. And the 5th change will be a far more innovative change ever seen by man, called the cashless society. That was engraved up. See, when you were in the World Trade Center, people are walking around, they're looking at these exhibits, they're reading about the exhibits, and they're fascinated about how we got to be where we are, and nobody looks up and reads what's engraved on the wall. And it's telling you, okay, it's going to be a cashless society. We're going to do away with money. Well, that's the same thing the Bible says. Okay, so this is their program. This is their plan. I'm going to end this, and I'm going to say thanks for subscribing. Thanks for joining. Wake up and teach your children. Okay, if you've been a racist, stop being one. That's all that it takes. If you've been a racist, stop teaching your children that. We deserve better than that. We are better than that, and we are all one. I don't care how many or how large the number is, that number should never add up to larger than 1. All of us together are 1, not 2. Okay, let me finish this up with this. And what really started this race, this superior group, was when the explorers, your settlers, your first settlers, they call them settlers, Fernando Columbus and Hernando de Soto, when they were going around colonizing, and all of these missionaries, and they were colonizing everybody, they'd report back to the kings and queens, and they said that the white race is the smallest population on earth. This small group of elites who were colonizing, enslaving, Hellenizing, and implementing capitalization, they got afraid when they saw that there was so many people of color in the world, and it was just a small group of whites. So they said, we have to do something, because if we don't, the people of color and the Africans, they will make white people their slaves. So the fear took over. And that's why they're holding on, and that's why they have all of these laws and the Supreme Court and everything to keep white supremacy in place. It's because they're afraid that if black people ever get the opportunity to make them their slaves, we're going to do to them what they did to us. Well, that's never been our nature. Sorry. All during slavery, this is why they organized the slave patrol, because they feared that black people were going to escape and come and kill them in their mansions and houses at night while they were asleep. So they needed a slave patrol. So all of this fear and everything that they generated and created that was never real, that's what they're still using today if you're listening, to how they're going about it. So I'm going to say, Ashe, have a great day.